Hello and welcome to a clean new episode of the StudioMEcast. I'm your host, Peter J.S. Regan, manager here at StudioMe. And if you like the look and sound of this podcast, well, you can book this space yourself at StudioMe.me. Don't forget about our new location, The Meetup in Oakland, a fully automated podcast studio that can seat up to 4 people comfortably. Just like our other podcast studios, it is powered by AI, and you can be joined by a virtual guest. Today, I'm joined by another special guest, Michelle Quaranta, who does celebrity hair and makeup and is the owner of the Q Group. Also, I recorded this episode on a different date, and I'm a little congested, which is why you're about to hear my voice change dramatically. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming
Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Peter.
We met because you came into the studio. And you were relatively new to Pittsburgh at the time, I think, because you were moving out here. Is that right? You've moved to Pittsburgh then?
I haven't moved.
Okay.
My brother actually lives in Cranberry.
Oh, okay.
So him and my youngest brother went to Moon Township, if I am correct.
Yep. All right.
And played football there. So my one brother ended up staying here. And so I do come back a lot to visit. And in the last year, I started to come back here more often, just looking into more of the industry and what's available out here.
Fantastic. So your specialty in the industry is hair and makeup. And for celebrities, and you're the owner of the Q Group Incorporated. Why don't you tell us a bit about what the Q Group is all about?
Yeah, the Q Group started probably 5 years ago. I've been in the industry for over 25 years, and I was teaching at a makeup school in Hollywood, and I realized the potential with so many students that were looking for ways to get out in the field and get experience. So I was like, well, this is something I could probably help these students with. How do I do this? So I started the Q Group, and I started interviewing and bringing on talent that could do hair and makeup and basically assist me on set. And this way they were getting more of, I guess you would say, like an internship, right? Hands-on experience. Mm-hmm. And that's really how that all started. And I've just kind of been building that ever since as I've continued on in this world of media.
What kinds of projects have you been involved with?
When I first started my career, I was actually graduating from ASU out in Phoenix, Arizona with a marketing and business degree. And hair and makeup was always something fun for me. Even as a kid, I was a performer doing theater, dance, all of it. And I think I didn't realize that there was an opportunity to actually do something like this professionally. So I started working for a modeling agency, and I was doing hair and makeup for their photo shoots. And then from there, I started doing weddings. And that's kind of where this all started before I ventured out. So I think a lot of it was just passion. It was a hobby, really. And yeah, it's really been, it's crazy to think 25 years and how much has changed, but how much I still love and appreciate the arts. And, for a lot of the kids that were at the school, I never had that opportunity. I didn't go to school. I just kind of was self-taught. So I saw a lot of kids that were just so confused and lost. Like, where do I start in this industry? How do I get out there? How do I, promote myself, market myself, connect? And I've always been a huge connector. I love networking, love going to events. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to bring that together. And I want to offer students an opportunity to get out there and learn about the industry hands-on, but give them a more educational way of doing it than just like back in the day when we did it. It was, oh yeah, sure, I'll come do that for free. I'll do that magazine shoot for free. Or you just, you met people like through going out. There was no social media. There was no Facebook or LinkedIn. So you were literally just, I don't know, back then maybe we had pagers or text messages.
Right.
I don't even remember anymore. But that's how we got our jobs, right? And a lot of it became referral based. So yeah, I mean, it's like I've had so much fun. I can't even say that there's one particular area that's my favorite. Starting off doing weddings, I still love doing weddings. It's one of those moments where you're a part of someone's special day. You can make people feel so amazing, and it's so rewarding. And from there, I would say TV. I love TV. I started my career in LA in reality. I'm still working in it. So I have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I like being able to go into different facets of the business, right? I never wanted to pigeonhole myself and say, oh, I'm only weddings or I'm only TV. I really always still to this day love to challenge myself. And that's really what I'm hoping to do to motivate and inspire my team.
Do you think that social media, it's everywhere, but is it really necessary for building that network, or are the real connections, do you think, made like interpersonally, or just like, do the old ways still work, is I guess what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel strong about that more and more each day when I really take a step back and look at where have we landed in the world of media, right? Mm-hmm. Because we went through COVID, especially in Hollywood, living in LA during that time and just kind of watching the city shut down, watching a lot of our, film and television shut down. It was a scary time for everybody because, I mean, we really are a TV mecca out there. And I watched a lot of my friends that have been out there even longer than myself and in the union not have any work coming in. And prior to COVID, I had just gotten into the makeup union.
Perfect timing.
It was a crazy time. And, you weren't sure where things were going to go. And then we had that real quick comeback. I think it was like maybe a year after COVID, where things got really busy and they were trying to get sets back, going again and filming, but we had all these regulations on set, but there was still hope. And then as we saw that shift, we then encountered strikes. We had our writers' strikes and actors' strikes, and that was really overwhelming for a lot of us. Like, okay, when is this going to end, or what is really happening to our industry? So I still to this day believe you always have to change with the times, right? You have to adapt with the times. But what it really comes down to is your work ethic and your connections, right? So if I'm switching set all the time, I'm going on a different set all the time, I'm meeting different crew members, I'm working with different people, that's how you really start to build your network. And you get to show people hands-on what your abilities are, right? So it's like, if I know I can work with you on set really well and we connect and we have that like high energy on set, because we all know, you got to be ready to move on set. Well, the next show that I get, the next opportunity that I get, I'm going to remember you, right? So yes, you can, keep up with your social media and have all these amazing reels and pictures and all of that. But what is true to your work ethic is how you are on set. And that's always been like a really strong, like, asset of mine is working on set, working with the teams, making sure that like I know everyone on crew, that I'm flexible, right? That I'm not demanding as an artist. So I think just having that connection with people and being able to bring that into your workspace, you're just going to continue to get referred. If I think back to, really back in the day when some of my friends were in the industry working a ton, making a ton of money. They were literally on the streets of LA, the streets of New York, walking around with a portfolio of their work, like literally like a tangible portfolio. And you would have to go get a certain size picture printed out. I can't remember. It wasn't an 8x10. It was like 11 by something. But so you would have to go to like the special printer, make sure your pictures looked amazing. Everything had to be done professionally. So where we started and where we are today is amazing, right? I love social media. I love Instagram, just for the fact that I can quickly send you a message, right? So it gives you that opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I found you. I like your work. I like your style. Can we chat? Instead of back in the day, maybe having to like, oh, yeah, I heard about this studio downtown, I don't know, maybe find them in the yellow pages,
Right.
like, or like go to their website, 10 years later. But now we have so many faster, efficient ways of connecting and making sure that we are connecting with people on the same page, right? So you're not really wasting a lot of your time. The efficiency is there. So I think even when resourcing and trying to staff up crew, like coming into a new area, we have better solutions in finding that talent. So I love social media. I think there are so many positives to it. Can we all go down the rabbit hole? Of course. So I think sticking to what you really need, what your needs are and what you're looking for, and then kind of focusing in on that, right? And not being overwhelmed, or maybe not even getting yourself so hyped up on, oh, well, this person's work looks so amazing, like they'll never want to work with me. Right. It's kind of putting that out of like your fear, get it out of your mind, and just remember that just because maybe our page looks amazing and someone else's page doesn't mean that they're not of the same quality of work. Right. So I've really noticed that a lot too, because some people just don't like focusing on their social media. Right. They'd rather be on set working. And as a hair and makeup artist, this is something that my friends and I talk about all the time on set, is we're actually physically working with our hands. So if we're doing someone's hair and makeup, how can we actually be like doing our social media? Or you try to take a picture, you try to take a video, but then it's like not of the quality that you might want. So there is really a strong benefit to it, but I think sometimes we might just get a little fearful of, oh, well, I'm not good enough because look at all these people that are doing this. So I still want people to like focus on their art and their craft and their talents, because ultimately that's what really matters.
But it's a great supplement to what you're doing, because I've noticed some people who, not one in particular, but who seem to front load everything they're doing with their social media, and it's like they're very active on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter/X, whatever we're calling it, and
Yeah.
all that, and it's like they've got more of an online presence than they really have work,
Yes. Yes.
and I get like if you're having especially lately, if people are having a hard time like getting work, or lately being the last 5 years, like having trouble getting work, then it's like, all right, well, you can always work on your social media. You don't need someone to like ask you to do something. Like, you can. That's always available for you to do. But I want to ask, like, because you have a pretty cool opportunity for like just perspective here, because you spend a lot of time in LA, but also in Pittsburgh. Now, the industry, of course, goes beyond LA, like with the strikes and all that. But I guess what I'd like to get into with you is some of the differences of the difficulties that people have probably faced between Pittsburgh and LA, and I don't know, just some of the observations that you've had in your experience going back and forth here. So I guess let's get into that. So
Yeah.
with our just off the top of your head, what are some differences that you might mark in the industry between LA and Pittsburgh? Like, are there any like cultural differences? Is it like way busier in LA? What's it like between the two?
Well, I am still very new to Pittsburgh and I'm still tapping into this market. But
Mhm.
what I have seen and experienced is a really, really cool small town in a city.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I really love that. It's and the architectural like building design here and the history here is just so cool to me. Like just every time I kind of drive into the city and just like looking at like all these buildings and the bridges, and I just love it. It's really a cool vibe. Super industrial. I think that's what I love, right?
Mhm.
And then going out to LA and being in California, it's just, you got the sun, the palm trees, right? It's a whole different vibe. And you see that in the culture as well. I think for LA, we have really seen just a lot of reality TV, right? A lot of TV out there. Um, but I also notice here, uh, you have a little bit more of like a sports driven community,
Mm.
right? So we might see more work in like commercial work, lifestyle shoots, right? Film, you can, definitely still get into film here. There's a lot of opportunity. But I think what's happening, and just getting back to what we were talking about with social media, is we are realizing that across the country, um, there's just so many more opportunities in different areas to film, right? And so that's where LA, we've noticed so much has left. I mean, obviously we can go into reasons why, and tax benefits and why people leave. But we've just noticed that a lot of work has left our city.
Mm. Mm.
And, yes, a lot of us have been scared. You're trying to stay hopeful. You're, talking to your buddy who's always working, and you're like, are you working? Because if you're working, it's a good sign. But if you're not
Mm.
working, I
Yeah.
might be scared. And so I've just learned from those that have been in the industry for a long time that it's an up and down, roller coaster ride, really, the industry. So you'll see things being filmed for reality TV again right now, or you'll see a lot of stuff going into your different platforms like, Netflix and Apple TV and Prime. So I think we are so widespread now that it is really hard to define like, oh, well, what's happening in New York City? What's happening in
Mm.
LA? What's
Mhm.
happening in Pittsburgh? Because it really comes down to our productions. Like, well, where do they want to film these shows? Where do they want to film these movies? Like, what makes sense financially? But location too, right?
Mhm.
So people are not afraid to travel now. And so my personal opinion, just being able to kind of work in different cities, is I'm seeing that there's more opportunities in cities like Pittsburgh, right? It's
Mm.
almost like this untapped market. And I just feel that we're going to start to see more and more, like just productions, like
Yeah.
being a little bit more open minded to going into different cities.
Mhm. I think Pittsburgh's interesting too, because like I remember, I don't know, like since I was 16, 17, maybe younger, people kept saying like, "Oh, Pittsburgh's gonna be like the LA of the East Coast. We're gonna make all the movies here and all that," and it just kind of like never quite has happened. Like there have been movies and shows and occasionally like a big movie, but it seems like there's been just from me talking with people who are like more in unions and all that, because I'm not part of any of the unions. But just talking with them, it seems like there's all this difficulty where a lot of people, LA-based productions come out to Pittsburgh and then they won't hire locally because it's like, well, that's also work for like their city, and like you talk about, a lot of work goes away. I'm sure they want to keep the people that they're used to working with, but then you have people here who are looking for a job, and uh, with Pittsburgh, it's odd how I feel like no one's quite figured out how to like crack Pittsburgh properly, like how to use it for media. But yeah, you bring up a great point too, just how diversified what you do is. Like anytime you have people that are going to be seen, they need hair and makeup. It's like whether it's fashion, photos, commercials, movies, reality, or other types of shows. And that, I think, is a perspective that I don't know if I hear that as often, because like a lot of the way that I look at things is through movies, because I'm obsessed with them and I love making them. But and I hear about how the film industry we're in a really weird space with streaming, and how that, and with AI as well, and what's gonna happen. I have some theories and hopes about what could happen with the industry, and I love studying film history as well, and see like, oh, when were we in a situation like this before? How did people cope with it? What ended up happening? But yeah, I think the point you bring up with like there's more than just one area for what you do. Just as there may be with acting. It's like you might have actors who specialize in film, but it's like there's also stages. It's not that it can't be difficult, or like that there aren't problems going on right now for a lot of industries. Like for a director of photography, you might be able to do you have fewer options with that, perhaps, in a lot of positions. Now, for this, what we're talking about with Pittsburgh and with new media and all that, what kind of opportunities do you see in Pittsburgh? Because you mentioned it being like almost like an untapped market. What kind of vision do you have for our big small town of this city? That we have. Like, what do you see coming from LA? Like what do you see in Pittsburgh that intrigues you?
Well, I've always loved, I think, the passion for sports here. And I think with new media and the opportunity for a lot of your athletes to tap into that market, I see that being an increase, right? So just maybe YouTube development, like just creating channels for a lot of like sports athletes and retired athletes, right? People that really do have a true attachment to their city, right? They don't want to leave. They don't want to go out to LA or vice versa. And, I grew up in a small town in northern New Jersey. So for me, it was like, I knew I wanted to get out. But what I've realized as I've gotten older is not everybody wants to get out. A lot of people love where they live. They love their small towns, or, they love their cities, and they take pride in that. And I think knowing that we have the opportunities now with media to literally create so much just in your own space, right? I mean, there's people that are building out, studios out of their home, building out studio spaces like here, giving us these opportunities to maybe stay home and enjoy where you live, enjoy your families more. So my hope and my intuition about the industry is that we are finally getting to a point where we're saying, let's get back some time for our lives. Like, why are we running around everywhere and traveling everywhere and killing ourselves and working like 14, 16 hours a day on set when we can truly start to bring stuff back home and do stuff right in your cities and make content, make films, make commercials, right? Do lifestyle shots. Of course, certain things you're going to have to go into different markets, right? I mean, that's just normal. But we have the capabilities now. We have the opportunities. We have the infrastructure, now with AI and the developments of that. Yeah, it can be scary sometimes, right? I mean, a lot of us were scared in LA, especially with the, the actors strike. It was like, okay, well, forget it. It's over. Our careers are over. But it's trying to find that middle ground. Like, okay, how do we use AI to our benefit to honestly give us back time, And so that's how I'm trying to figure all this out too with the industry is, okay, as a hair and makeup artist, I can't really use AI. right? I still physically need to do hair and makeup. But if they want to take and use AI in their platforms of making their content, that's a different story. I'm not all for it, but I can understand to a point.
And AI might even be able to be used by you not directly with hair and makeup, but maybe as AI powering, just keeping just organizational stuff with your calendar, contacts, all that kind of thing. It's like it's really
totally
gonna change. And at Studio Me, I'm loving what you're saying because we do basically what you talked about. Like we we do studio build outs for clients. We have some clients who are part of the football teams here, and like just pro athletes as well, who have their own podcasts as well. For some of them use these spaces. Some of them we do like build outs for. And so we are seeing more of that. Podcasting is a great way to do it because you can record for about an hour, and then you also have like 3 short videos that come out of that. Short form stuff drives people to your long form content. It's a great way to build a connection with your audience. And AI is really a part of this, making things more personal or personable, or the democratization of the visual arts in a lot of ways. I've been nervous about AI, like everybody, but my thought with it was we can't be in denial of this.
Oh, it's here.
Yeah,
it's here.
All right, like I used to say, it's coming. We're not going to stop it, but it's like, it's here now. And at the studio, one of the things that we've kind of taken as an approach is, we're not going to stop it, but it hasn't been defined yet. Going to be used. And if we can be part of defining that, making sure that it's a helpful tool, that the world isn't taken over by robots in our own little way, that'd be nice. While just making things easier and removing certain barriers that people have between them and their idea. Lately, I've been using AI image generative stuff to like experiment with it, see what it can do. And the more I use it, the less worried I am, by the way. Not because I don't think it's going to get better. Like, it's always going to get better.
Yeah.
But I'll use it to try out a concept. Like if I'm creating a backdrop for something that's shot on a green screen and doing animation, I might have an idea where I'm like, oh, what if we had these like it's a sci-fi, and what if we had these almost like medieval tapestry looking things on the wall? And what I'll sometimes do is I'll use the AI image generative stuff to make something kind of like that, and I'll put it there to see if this idea is working at all.
Right.
Like,
right.
does it work? Is it framing up, or it's whatever? And then if I like it, then I'll go through and make the thing properly, as all these terms are going to be controversial someday. But
Yeah.
it's like, but like I'll use it as a placeholder, or like a way to sort of just kind of, it's like a sketch. It's not done. I'm not going to use it in the final product, at least for what I'm working on now. I don't think I would ever do that, but I haven't yet. So, and I think we need to be wary of AI because it's possible for anything to go wrong, right? And we've had stories of, AI taking over for over 100 years now, and they're always warnings.
Yeah.
But if there's something good we can do with them, like, hey, maybe AI can help the, snow plows figure out where my mom lives so that she can drive safely, that
Right.
kind
right.
of
right.
thing.
I think it's almost utilizing it as this extension of your thought process. So like, just like you said, coming up with different ideas and throwing them out there and really seeing visually what it looks like. So for me, I look at it like almost like my assistant, like things that maybe I think in my head, but then I can't really execute it. Or maybe it's like this virtual vision board. And so like the ideas that we have about a concept, or maybe a film or a commercial, you can get that assistance right away, quickly. where you're not spending all this time. And I think that's what I'm constantly going back to, is it's giving you time back in your life, to actually focus on your health, focus on your family. And that's always been a really, big thing for me, is finding work-life balance, across the board. So, so I see AI helping us there. I get scared too, because I'm like, well, crap, like what, what will be left for anyone to do? But you still need a coach, AI. You still have to finalize AI.
Well, something I ask about that is because I remember when I was very young that people were saying similar things about computers. It's like, oh, the problem is you're going to have too much free time. And it seems like people are busier than ever. I know I am.
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of me wonders if that's what, like, if AI is going to lead to more free time, or if it's, just going to be another tool that leads to more productivity. What I'm excited about with AI is when it's being used to do something that isn't necessarily replacing something else, but it's doing something that wasn't possible before. Like, a lot of people are showing AI for kind of like instant animation stuff. Well, no one, as far as I know, does a fully animated podcast, for example. All right, because that'd be like an hour of animation, and that's ridiculous. That's not worth it.
Yeah.
But with AI, if we were to do something like, let's say I'm a host who has a animated avatar like character thing, and that's how I do my thing. Well, with AI, I could potentially just replace myself with that animated, in quotes, character instantly. I'm not actually even taking a job away from an animator, because there is not an animator out there whose living is based on animating podcasts. So it just hasn't been possible before. And it probably already is now, actually. I haven't done it yet. Maybe sometime I'll show up in one of these episodes and I'll just be an animated me. That would be odd. But,
Right.
But when it helps you to do things that just weren't possible before, like some of it's replacing work and making things more efficient, for sure. I think there's going to be a huge element of that. But I feel like when we get more efficient with it, it's just going to be, we're going to have to fill up our time with more work of some that we haven't even thought of.
Right. Which
Maybe.
That's what I'm hoping, is more people say, oh, this is a positive thing. Now I have more time for my life, for my family. I can actually, get out of work and go see my kids play a sport, or I can take the time to go have, dinner with friends or family or my significant other. I just see so many people always trying to fill their time, like when it comes to work. And we've trained ourselves to think like that, where it's almost like if we could really look at AI as a positive source to help you and guide you with your projects, not take them over, but to give you that assistance and kind of speed up the process, so that maybe you're not working 5 days a week. Maybe you're only working 3 to 4, but you're still executing like the mission, right? And so getting back to like our industry and maybe like my field of hair and makeup, I pray all the time that doesn't go away, right? Because it is such a beautiful craft. But yes, there's going to be shifts and there's going to be changes, and we have to always prepare and pivot for that. But at the same time, you can't give up what your passion is. And I think, us as creators, right? Artists, visionaries, we don't ever want to give that up. And I can only hope that, AI just kind of stays in their lane, lets us still be, our true visionary, artistic, selves.
Yeah, I think it's, at some point, I think it might get ugly. We'll see what happens.
We'll be battling AI.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's going to be like Terminator with robots in the streets with machine guns. I mean, I hope not. Although
Was one of my favorite movies growing up.
Phenomenal.
You
Yeah,
know?
I don't want to live it, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But that is something that's odd about AI is like the first version of a robot was from a play in 1920, and I forget the name of the play. Sorry, there's a title on screen. People, look at that. Isn't it lovely? And give myself more work to do later. And it's like from that first play on, it's like almost every single story about AI is a warning. I'm suspicious that there are some things that people are saying are AI that aren't, but that just helps them to get their thing made, you know?
Right.
But in the studio here, we use AI for a few different things. One is we have an automatic video switcher for our cameras that we developed here, which is awesome. We're not using it at the moment because one of our interns is running the studio and doing a phenomenal job at that. But we also use it for, we have something called Sidekick, which is a podcast assistant where it listens to the conversation you're having and analyzes it. And on your phone or iPad, it gives you like suggestions and recommendations for like follow-up questions, topics that are related to what you're discussing. And it'll also have relevant statistics like to your topic, a famous quote, that kind of thing. It's really helpful for like if you're hosting a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can be listening and engaged with what you're saying, but I might ask you a question, you give me an answer, and then I'll listen and I'll be like, "Wow, that's cool," and then sometimes I'll get stumped. I'll be like, "Oh wait, what's next?" And so I can just glance down and see. Oh yeah, so how do you think that relates to whatever? And it's a nice little get out of jail free card for moments like that too. But it's I wouldn't want to watch a robot interview a robot for more than a few minutes probably. There was one time that some people tried to do that, and the AI came up with their own language very quickly and were communicating in a way that we couldn't understand.
Okay.
That was scary.
That is scary.
And people say, "Oh, they unplugged it immediately in a panic," but it was more of a, "Oh, well, it's not working anymore," and they just stopped it. So it wasn't as sinister as people like to say, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, AI, I think it's gonna be a change, like a big shift to everything that we're doing in the same way that smartphones or the internet kind of like changed everything.
Yeah.
But people are still gonna make movies. I think like cinema's too powerful.
Yeah.
It's like people are still gonna watch reality TV because they love it. And I don't think that kind of thing. I mean, we're still going to the theater,
Right. Well, people are still going to get married.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, there are still so many platforms within media that will not disappear.
Mhm.
And I think it's really figuring out, what direction do you want to go into, or do you want to kind of tap into all these different facets of media? Because some people say, nope, I just want to do weddings, or I just want to do films. And you might have to pivot a little bit and start tapping into all areas, right? I mean, we've seen that over the last couple of years that there's just not a lot of work out there right now. The industry definitely has shifted. And just like you and I sitting here today, there is still a lot of confusion. I don't have the answers. You don't have the answers. We hear a lot. People are always saying different things, but there's no real solid answer.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I reach out to my union, you're thinking unions have been around for, over 100 years plus, right? I mean, it's like they don't even have an answer. And I'm like, they've been doing this forever,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's kind of worrisome sometimes. But once again, I have found that there are other avenues, So just like walking into a studio like this, you guys are filming podcasts, YouTube, people doing their own little influencer social media shows. Those are going to be opportunities because, like anything, when you first start out, right? Podcasting, when it first started out, no one was filming.
Mm-hmm.
It was all just the voice,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And now, see, they're implementing filming so that they're creating more content. So those areas of media are only going to continue to grow and shift and get better. So there will be those opportunities for, other jobs. I mean, I believe everything goes in a full circle, but at the same time, traditionally, we always stay pretty true to the fundamentals of any industry. Think about when everyone got real scared when tech started getting so crazy and big and everyone was going in the tech industry, I mean, somehow, some way we have found how, to implement jobs and different opportunities for people. And now like probably half our country is tech. Every time I turn around, I'm like, do you work in tech? Do you work in tech? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a cool time. It really is a cool time to see where things are going to go.
Mm-hmm. I've been enjoying it personally. It's like, yeah, I feel for like I have friends in the industry, like especially like out in LA and who were affected by the fires. I'm sure like I don't know if you were personally, but I'm sure you know tons of people who were.
Yeah, I mean where I live is about 4 miles, from where one of the big fires happened in the Palisades. So yes, I mean just with the toxins in the air, with the smoke, a lot of us were affected by that. But I did have friends that were, really in it, and that's a whole other thing.
It's been a lot just on repeat, whether it's COVID, the strikes, the fires. It's really been a beating, and I'm looking forward to better times for everybody. It's but I think, especially when I think about like streaming and how that affected a lot of like the strikes that did happen. And just how things are shifting and changing, and people don't really know what's going to happen. I agree with you. I think we're going to continue to see a surge of like just sort of smaller creators getting a start that like not that long ago there wasn't an opportunity like that. Like the idea that you can have your own show was completely nuts to almost everybody, and now it's like if you want one you can do it in Pittsburgh.
Right. And think about this too is it's like going to an interview. So back in the day, you'd physically go to an interview, you'd hand over your paper resume, right, or your portfolio, and you'd go through that process. Well, obviously, that can happen a lot faster now. But even though all of us have access to having like our own podcast, our own TV show, our own film created, right, utilizing AI to help us with all that. Okay. At the end of the day, you're going to have a certain percentage of people that are going to fall off. Mm-hmm. Not everyone is going to be able to maintain that. Mm-hmm. There's just no way. Not only that, but there might be, someone that steps into that role and everyone is like gung-ho about that person, right? They have the right marketing. They have the right voice. They have the information that people are looking to listen to. Well, all of a sudden, all these other podcasts or YouTube shows, they're filed away already. We're on to the next. So it's like anything in our industry. You always have to be creating and always staying ahead. And it really ties into marketing. Like it doesn't even matter anymore, right? If you, as good as you are, I mean, I know back in the day, not having any social media, that I had friends of mine that were so talented when it came to hair, makeup, styling, and they were never really seen because they were truly all about their art and their craft, that they didn't know how to network or market themselves. So they weren't getting out there, in the front, spotlight, right? I feel the same about like YouTube and podcasting. It's like you're only gonna get so far depending on what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Think of like your podcast or your YouTube channel. It's like the new portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think no matter what career you're in, you're moving faster than ever, but you have to be willing to pivot and change with the times.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's really where we're at,
Mm-hmm.
But real quick, I wanted to
Yeah, of
ask
course.
you,
Oh, fantastic.
have you worked on anything recently here in Pittsburgh? And like, what is your take and what's your vibe with the Pittsburgh film scene?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you feel that momentum? Do you feel people are becoming a little more creative and open-minded here as a city? Or do you feel like people still want to go, to New York or LA or London? I mean, I always wonder that about more of like a small town or small city.
Well, I can definitely give a perspective on this. So I'm an independent filmmaker. And when it comes to the independent film scene here in Pittsburgh, that is definitely growing. A big sign of that is the 48-hour film project, which is an international competition. We've talked about it many times on the show, but just to recap, you have a bunch of teams in your city, and they have 48 hours to create a film from beginning to end, including writing in, editing, and turning it in. And there's parameters, so like you can't cheat. It's like you need to have a certain character with a certain name and profession. Usually, like one year was a dentist, and they had names for them. You have to have a certain prop. One year was a paint can. And a certain line of dialogue, and you're also given, each team is given 2 genres that are like, they basically pull it out of a hat, sometimes literally, depending on the city. And then you go. I have 48 hours, you got to turn it in. And if you're 48 hours and 1 minute, you're disqualified. If you get one of those lines just a little bit wrong, if you say a instead of an or whatever, you're disqualified. And the thing about the 48 that I like to use as a sign that your independent film scene is growing is year to year how many people are doing it. And because it's the rules that no one can be getting paid on it, so that keeps it from like it doesn't mean that no professionals do it, but it keeps it on an independent kind of level, usually. But as time has gone by, we've had like more than 40 teams do it. Some of the teams are just a family, like maybe a father and son making a film at home. Some of the teams have like 40 people on them, and who are all like industry professional full-time. That's what they do, whether it's independent or union. And they'll do what they'll bring out the big guns for it, and they'll do a lot of prep for like getting the team organized and figuring out what locations they'll have access to, but they don't know if they're making a food film or a mockumentary or an action film, which is really tough on the actors, because there's different ways people deal with that, with like, we know we're going to use this actor, we have an acting pool, and you want to make sure you use everybody, and a lot of that comes into the writing. But so that's sort of like what's going on with the 48. That's been growing every year in Pittsburgh, and getting just more and more notoriety, because the 48 isn't just in Pittsburgh, it's all around the world, like South America, all across the United States, Canada, all across Europe, Africa, Asia, Japan, like it's huge. And this, like in the past few years, Pittsburgh's done really well with it on the international level as well. So we've been growing locally, and then those films have been getting like incrementally more and more recognized at Filmapalooza, which is the international event where all the city champions play their films. So that's a good sign that, and the thing with the 48 is just pretty much everybody either has or does do it in Pittsburgh when it comes to the independent film scene. There's exceptions to it. I don't do it every year. And, I've been involved in different capacities. The guy who produces it in Pittsburgh is PJ Gaynard, so he's been on the show. Great guy. He knows basically everybody, I think. I would hope. And so it's definitely been growing as a scene in Pittsburgh. When it comes to industry stuff, I don't have as great a perspective on that, but I know people who work it. There's a bunch of, like the big show going on right now is Mayor of Kingstown. That's been getting a lot of work for people. We've been getting a lot of auditions for actors here in the studio because we have a special deal that's just secretly for actors to do their auditions. So you get the sense that there's more and more happening. And there's more and more interest because it's possible to be in a town and you're the only person interested in making videos.
Yeah.
It's like less common than it used to be. But like when I started getting interested in film and videos and all that, I literally didn't know anybody who did it. And like right after that, that's when it started to get more like, camcorders and teenagers just making videos with ninjas, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but it wasn't like, it's not like everybody knew someone who was making films, It's,
Right.
At least where I was. So it's definitely grown. There's more of a, there's I don't know, platform, a community. There's places to see the films. There's events. There's like the 48, but then there's also the sci-fi horror 48, which they do in the fall. There's other local film festivals. So that's like just churning up, and people are showing up. They're watching the films. They're making them, and that's been awesome to see grow over the years, and to be a part of it is awesome. And I think that someday, maybe someone will look back and make a documentary on the ragtag group of independent people who, did this kind of thing. And as it grows, because at least some of the people who are doing are very serious and and there's real talent there. Like that it factor where it's like, oh, they're telling a story people really connect with, and it just keeps working. At some point, everybody makes a dud, but just keep going. And so that's encouraging. That's really looking up is the independent scene. There's not really an infrastructure in Pittsburgh to go from like lower budget to high budget stuff. There's not like an intermediate level really, or if there is, it's not nearly as accessible, or there's not as much room, that kind of thing. But as for me, I'm always working on stuff. I occasionally help out with other people's projects, whatever it is. Like if I'm friends with a sound guy, whatever, I'll hold a boom. I don't love doing that, but I've done it. And but
you gotta step in,
of course,
and help
and
out.
honestly, I just like being on set.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the hell out of it, and I'm always working on something. I've been writing a lot lately. I've always written, but I took kind of a break for a while. I'm like, I'm in post-production on my first feature film. Have been for a long time.
Nice.
Thank you. It's been going on for a long time, but I'm really happy with like where how it's turning out. And then I'm in pre-production for my next feature, which will not take nearly as long. And learned how to make things a lot faster now. And then also been writing some shorts as well that just because the thing with a short is it's kind of weird to think like, sometimes you'll make a short like for a competition because that might be able to get something cool, like there's a real goal there,
Right.
It's like obviously you can make a short about something that's important to you and you want to do that, but it's for me for a while that's kind of been just that takes me away from my features, which is what I'm really about. But I'm looking at doing a couple of shorts in the foreseeable future. I've been writing a lot of those. Been working like crazy on my features because I'm just really like I know what I can do with this thing. I just want to get it. So that's terribly exciting for me. But yeah, occasionally I'll do like some visual effects or help out on set with other people's projects, mostly like friends, that kind of thing. And just really trying to push through these features here. And
what is the feature about? What's the
well, the one that I'm in the post production of is a sci-fi comedy adventure. I don't talk about a whole lot on this podcast, like I mention it, but it's a sci-fi comedy adventure. It's basically a road trip through space.
Ugh.
And yeah, it's got a lot of visual effects and animation, which is a big part of what's taken forever, but it's turning out great. And
That's cool.
it's very much in the same vein as things like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Red versus Blue, Rick and Morty, just like that kind of goofy sci-fi
Right.
stuff. Even though I think I started it before Rick and Morty first aired, so that gives a little bit of a timestamp for people. Anyway, but inspired by a lot of the same things, though. But it's also wholesome. It's a nice movie. It's friendly. It's charming, and it's it's got a bit of a bite to it. But I think people enjoy. I've been at a stage where I'm showing. I have a newer cut of the film that it has been a big milestone because all of the visual and audio elements are like represented in this rough cut. Like there's not a point where I have to pause and explain like, okay, so they're on a green screen. Let me explain what's behind them. It's like I can hit play and you can watch and you're gonna know what the movie's gonna be like when it's finished. And been able to show that to a few people. I've got, test screenings, questionnaires, all that. That's been a really fun process because watching a rough cut is usually not fun. It's usually a chore. It sucks. There's a reason why we finish these things, but it's actually been a blast to show it to people because the parts of the movie that are supposed to be funny, like, are funny now. It's like, it's not like, oh, it'll be better once it's done. It's like, no, the jokes are landing. The characters are coming across. It's really just like the bones are there. Just gotta finish covering it up with the skin,
Yeah,
And
that's so great.
so that's been a huge ordeal for me. It's been crazy. I haven't lost the film though, so that's good. There are a couple times where it got close where it's like, oh man, if we didn't get that day of filming, things would have really sucked. But it's coming through. It's turning into the film that I was trying to make, which is awesome. And it's coming along. I work on it a lot, and
That's cool.
I'm really excited to finally show it to people. I've been really documenting also a lot of the behind the scenes for it for a long time, and it's just kind of a neat movie to look at. Like the stuff like building miniatures. People like that. It's cool.
Yeah.
But really, it's although there's a lot of visual effects and animation and stuff like that, it really is just this nice story about these three friends, and it's sort of like I was trying to make a smart movie wrapped up in a stupid movie just in case the smart stuff didn't work so people would still enjoy it. But all the things that I was trying to do with the movie are working out,
That's cool.
which is nuts to me. That because it's like I'd never made anything even close to like what it is, and I definitely overshot the movie, which ended up being a good thing. But it's sitting at a really nice runtime at about 85 minutes, which doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the pacing of it. There's a lot of things of it that are a little like it doesn't represent me as a director anymore because of how long ago it was shot. And that's one reason why I'm going to be making some shorts is to be like, hey, I can do this. It's like
Right.
I can make like the feature does certain things. But ultimately I love movies. I love making them. I enjoy doing it. And although I've spent a lot of time on this one, I'm not trying to like change the world with this movie. Okay. Like, even though I've put so much time into it, my goal really is I just want to make a fun movie that people are going to like,
Yeah.
or like, it's, you can watch it and you'll laugh and it'll be a good time. It's not going to change your
Right,
life. It's
right.
not going to be maybe even your favorite movie, but I love cinema. I've just always wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And,
And you can actually say you you finished it. Like
Yeah,
many
someday,
people, you know,
I might die first. We'll see. I
many
don't think so.
people don't even get as far as you've gotten.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool.
Well, yeah,
That's
just
cool.
never give up,
Yeah.
and I'd never even considered it. And yeah, well, thank you. It's so when it's done, everyone who's ever met me, even in passing, will know. I'm
Yeah,
never
can't
gonna
wait.
shut up about it. But it's seriously turning into something it's cool, it's neat, it knows what it is, doesn't take itself too seriously, and the characters are likable is a big thing. Very, very fortunate with the cast, and all I can take credit on that is being very mindful of casting and who to pick and all that. But boy, oh boy, did they do a great job, and I can't wait for them
That's
to
cool.
all see it when it's finished. Even though a bunch of people who have worked on it have seen what it's up to now.
Clips of it and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or watch the cut even.
Mhm.
But I think when I finally get to show it to this person, that person, whatever. I've been looking forward to that for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Good for you.
thanks. Yeah, but I think to encapsulate sort of the whole thing, I think that Pittsburgh's kind of perfect for whatever's going to happen with these different mediums. I don't know what it's going to be like for the industry, but when it comes to creating podcasts, when it comes to creating films, at least on an independent level, I think we're really headed in a phenomenal direction with a lot of opportunity. The city has all kinds of just logistical good things about it. We
Yeah,
have four
definitely.
seasons. We have a lot of different locations. It's not that far out of the city where it's rural, or you can. I saw a screening of a friend of mine who just finished his first feature where he shot it. Like, it's clearly Western Pennsylvania, but it's like this twilight world, very reminiscent of like a David Fincher Eraserhead kind of like it's clearly Western Pennsylvania, but he made it feel otherworldly and in this different realm. And it's like there's so many opportunities for what just is around here,
Yeah.
and the interest for it has been growing a lot every year. And I think I just remember this one interview with someone asked Quentin Tarantino, like, is it possible to become a filmmaker the way you did? Whatever. And he just said, make Reservoir Dogs. He's like, there's a lot of stuff out there, but if you throw a stick of dynamite to the audience's lap, people are going to notice. That's not all there is to it. Like you said,
Right.
marketing. A lot of people, super talented, who just no one knows they exist.
Yeah.
But the things that work, including just in person, getting to know each other and all that, the things like that have always worked, and being able to tell an entertaining story and all that still work, and that's still what it's about, and but yeah, on the industry, I don't know. On an independent level,
Yeah.
I'm very excited and optimistic for at least my prospects here in this city. So I've been very personally optimistic. And it seems reminiscent of some things that have happened in the industry, like back in the 50s and 60s. That I'm like, yeah, I think we're about to hit something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm excited to learn more about Pittsburgh with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me, Michelle. This has been a wonderful conversation. Everybody, there's going to be all kinds of stuff in the description below. But Michelle, why don't you just, you don't have to give your handles. We'll put all that down there. But what are some things that people might find in the description so that they can follow you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it will just be to connect with me on social. I'm a big social person, so emails, I check occasionally, but I'm definitely more social. So my Instagram, LinkedIn, my Instagram, you'll find me at the Q Group Inc. But yeah, I love connecting with people. I really believe that's my love language. I really love networking, and I love mentoring and just really inspiring people. So if there's any kind of takeaway I want anyone to have from our conversation today is, really don't be afraid to reach out to people, because you just never know. You never know.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you for reaching out to the studio here. It's been really great to connect with you. And I'll be following up with you on your socials as well.
All right.
So, all right. Well,
thanks, Peter.
Well, thank you. And all right, everybody, don't go away. I'll be right back right now.
Thanks for sticking around for the end of this episode. We have some very exciting announcements coming up soon, so just a little teaser for you there. But once again, if you like the look and sound of this podcast, you can book this space yourself at StudioMe.me. It's never been easier to start a podcast, and we just keep making it easier practically every day. So come on down to Studio Me for a free tour, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you care to, like, share, subscribe, and all the rest of it.